All right, hello and welcome everyone to Awakening Spiritual Intelligence. The theme for today is compassion, alchemizing suffering into love. And I'll hand it over to Yosi Amram, our host for today.
Thanks, Pauline. Um, and thank you all. Welcome, friends. Today we're dealing with a topic that I think is near and dear to many of our hearts. Um, it is no secret that human life involves suffering, our own and others, and it's perhaps it's always been true, but it's perhaps more apparently true these days than ever. And as I said in my email announcing this event, it seems like our world is on fire and we're all suffering from the heat. And so there's global suffering, and then we have our personal suffering and the way all of that interact. Yeah, so if you've lived on this planet for more than a few days, as most of us, I think, have, then we have experienced suffering. We dealt with our own and others' suffering. And just this morning, it seemed like by divine perfection, no, it wasn't even morning, it was still the middle of the night. I woke up with excruciating pain in my neck and my upper back. I couldn't fall asleep. And before I could kind of curse out, like what the whatever, I thought, well, why is this happening? Why am I getting this divine gift of pain today? And I thought, oh, you're going to talk about compassion and pain and suffering. So this is just so you can practice what you're talking about. Oh, okay, thank you. I could have done it without it. But but be that as it was, I just lay there in bed and I did something we'll practice doing together, and you'll get to do that in your dyads breakout. But I basically put my hands on my chest and I did the self-compassion practice, which is, yes, see, this speaking to myself in third person, I said out loud, yes, see, this excruciating pain in your neck and back is very difficult. And unfortunately, this has happened to you before and happens to many human beings. It's part of life. And I'm sorry. And I'm here with you, and we'll go through this together. And so, what I was trying to do is basically offer myself compassion, which basically has three key elements to it. One is acknowledging the pain. Oftentimes, our impulse is to run away, to hide, to turn away from our pain and others' pain because it's painful, it's difficult, and so we close our hearts, we numb out ourselves, and if it could only work, then be like, okay, sure. But the problem is, it doesn't really solve anything, and it just numbs and closes us to life. So the first thing is just opening and witnessing and acknowledging. And the second piece was, if you notice, I was saying to myself, this happens, this is part of life. So want to move from uh, judgment and victim mindset to normalization. This happens to you. This happens to many other human beings. It's happened before and likely happen again. So I'm not the only victim or of this kind of situation. And then the third piece is staying present with ourselves, with the pain, and not self-abandoning. So again, the three components are acknowledging, opening to it, normalizing it without judgment, and then staying present, committing to ourselves that we won't abandon ourselves. And so when we do that, we're connecting to ourselves, we're keeping our heart open. Now, I wish I could tell you that after I did that, my pain went away. It didn't. It was still hurting, but it did change and shift my relationship to the pain. And instead of feeling like I was starting to feel victimized, like, why is this happening to me? And so on, and that kind of line of thought that many of us can fall into that trap, I felt a little more resource. I was like, okay, well, I had this pain before. In fact, I had some that were worse. I won't tell you about that. But and other people, and we have survived. They have survived. So it's quote unquote not the end of the world. And so that shifted my relationship to the situation from one of victimhood and self-judgment or self-abandonment to self-connection and more resources. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to just take another melatonin here, which I rarely do, but in this case, I felt like I needed to be able to fall back asleep. And I did fall asleep. And I woke up and the pain was still there, but it gradually has softened and I'm feeling better. But if I look like there's something stuck up my neck or whatever, then you'll know why I look a little weird. So I hope I'm making some sense. So I'm sure each of us has got something in our lives, in your life, that you're dealing with that deserves some self-compassion. And as I said, it involves these three elements of acknowledging the difficulty, the pain of it, normalizing rather than judging it, and then committing to staying with ourselves. And in this way, it opens our hearts up to the tenderness and self-care that we can feel with when staying with the pain, with the difficulty. So indeed, the etymology of the word compassion comes from Latin, and co means with, and compassion means to suffer with. So somehow opening our hearts and being present and caring about the suffering, ours and others, softens us. It melts some of our armoring and puts us in touch with the tenderness of our heart and connects us to our essence, which is naturally caring and kind and loving. So in this way, this compassion activates sort of two fundamental components of spiritual intelligence, which is self-connection, connection to our essence, our soul, our spirit, our heart, and connection to others who are similarly suffering. And so we're not alone. And when we do that, when we connect to ourselves and connect to others, it calms down our nervous system. And, the parasympathetic nervous system gets activated through the vagus nerve, and we calm down. So, So again, I'm trying to emphasize that this doesn't necessarily solve the problem, so to speak, but it changes our relationship to it and it resources us and empowers us to deal with it. And then we have to ask ourselves what is skillful, and it depends on the situation. Sometimes we can't do much, and we'll see some, but we could still send good energy or prayers or whatever. In some cases, the compassion that motivates us to do something, we do something, whether it's sending money or lending a hand or just being present, whatever it is. So now let's look at what does the word compassion mean. I mean, it gets thrown around a lot these days, certainly in spiritual circles. So we'll look at some definitions of compassion. So the Oxford Dictionary defines compassion as pity and concern for the suffering and misfortune of others. So I think there's a couple of problems in this definition, at least from my perspective. One is, again, it only focuses on others and neglects our own. And the second problem is the word pity. And pity kind of puts us above the person. And when someone pities us, a friend or a colleague or whatever, it doesn't feel so good. Um, so, um, so I think there is a big difference between pity and compassion, and the way I see it. Um, and then look at Wikipedia. Last time I looked, it defines it as social feeling that motivates people to go out of their way to relieve the physical, mental, or emotional pains of others and themselves. So at least they're adding themselves. Uh, but then it goes back to compassion is sensitivity to the emotional aspects of the suffering of others. So there's emphasis on others, um, but it does acknowledge ourselves. And the way I like to define compassion is being present with, open-hearted towards, caring, and motivated to alleviate suffering, ours and others. So, so, um, you know, it's similar. Wikipedia also uses the word motivates, and I think motivation is a key part of it. Now, sometimes we're able to do something, and that motivation takes form as action. Sometimes the motivation is just an energetic quality, and it requires some wisdom, some discernment. So if I walk around the street and see a homeless person who might be uh, schizophrenic or, lying in their vomit, etc., um, it might activate sort of a pity. It might activate um, disgust, all kinds of things that are less present. But if I can then I have to discern, okay, I feel compassion for this person. What would be skillful? What would be wise? Is it giving them money? Are they going to use it for alcohol? Is it going to help? Am I just going to go buy them a sandwich or give them food or just simply send them quote unquote positive energy and not turn away from them, which is often our impulse because it's hard to encounter that kind of um, image scenario. So in this way, if we just say, "Oh, that's terrible, that's horrible," and we turn away from it, that's not compassion, that's disconnection. And we can do that kind of disconnection with our own and other people's suffering. And what we really want to do is turn into our hearts because our hearts have this magical capacity to connect us with our tenderness, with our care, which connects us with ourselves and other people, from where we can offer our presence and prayers or whatever is most appropriate given that situation. So I'm trying to emphasize a few things here that compassion is needed for ourselves as well as others, that resources us and makes us available to support ourselves and others. And without that, we are on shaky ground and we can't help anyone, uh, be it ourselves or others. So again, a lot of emphasis on we deserve self-compassion and as well as others. And so, in the words of the Buddha, who said, the wise one, you can search the tenfold universe and not find a single being more worthy of loving kindness and compassion than yourself. So, you can just read that your own and see if you could take that in, or is there something that makes it difficult to think about practicing compassion toward yourself for whatever reason, because you were brought up, conditioned to not care about ourselves. So you could search the tenfold universe and not find a single being more worthy of loving kindness and compassion than yourself. That doesn't mean that don't deserve it as well. Every and each one of us deserves it. Um, so I know some people that when they take that in, they just get really touched, like, wow, I too am deserving of my own compassion and other people's compassion. So take a moment and recall right now some difficulty or pain or suffering that you experience these days in your life. It could be a personal, or it could be something that in a way you're impacted at what's happening in the collective. And just before you get into the detail of that difficulty, just notice what happens as you start thinking about it. Simply thinking about this difficulty, which I imagine for many of us, there was something that would come up very quickly. Uh, you know, uh, Notice that how your physiology starts to change, how your breathing changes, how the tension level in your body shifts, what happens to your posture, with your heart, your chest, without even getting into the full story and how why this is so difficult or terrible. But just thinking about it starts to show signs for most people in our physiology, in our way of being, and the way life flows through us. So, having noticed that, let's do this self-compassion practice together. So now that you have identified this difficulty or this pain or this suffering in your life, then we'll do what I was suggesting I did last night. So you rest your hands flat on the center of your chest, your heart, and just begin by feeling the contact between the hands and the chest, along with the rise and fall of the breath. And you can repeat the following to yourself aloud, is what I suggest, what I like. There's something that hearing yourself say that helps, and I'll explain more later. Or you could do it silently if you're in a place that you can't do that, or you're too shy, or whatever reason. And so, but you start by naming yourself. So as I said, Yosi, this situation. So name yourself, and in this difficult situation for you, and name the situation, what it is, whether it's physical, emotional pain, a medical difficulty, a life circumstance, relational problem, something happening in the world, your environment. So you just name the situation, and then you kind of say, hey, I'm sorry, and then normalizing it. Unfortunately, life involves these kinds of situations and difficulty. And in fact, many others have to do and experience this kind of difficulty, whatever it is, pain in the neck or whatever it is that it is for you. And when things like this happen, the pain and suffering is normal and natural. And it's okay to acknowledge your difficulty. You're not the only one who suffers such. And I'm here with you, and we'll go through all this all together. So I'm just gonna let you do this silently or out loud with yourself without having to deal with my voice. And notice what happens now that you have done this thing for a minute or half a minute, however long it's been. And this is intended to help shift us from that victim mindset when we are blended and identified with the pain to being the witness, the one that's holding presence that can contain our hurt and can comfort it. So instead of just being the pain or being identified with it or lost in it, we are witnessing it. And then we have our awareness, our presence that holds it. So now take a moment again and notice, having done that, how your body or physiology or breathing or chest feel now. Do you notice any shift in how you're relating to this problem now, to this difficulty? And if you care to, please put in the chat what you notice the effect of doing this with yourself. Anybody notice anything? Okay, my heart feels tender, breathing slowed down. Or maybe you didn't feel anything, then that's okay too. Whatever happened to you, you're just connecting with yourself and being present with yourself. We want to be connected to ourselves. Otherwise, we can't really connect to anybody else unless there's a rope that connects two poles. It has to be tied in both ends. So we have to be connected to ourselves. Only from there can we connect with others. So these days, there's so much turmoil and suffering. There's the war in the Middle East, there's wars elsewhere in the world, there's concerns about the environment, the species disappearing, political polarization, economic uncertainty, inequities, homelessness, loneliness epidemic, anxiety, depression, mental health difficulties are exploding, increased suicide rates. So the list goes on. Um, and so it's no surprise we armor ourselves and close our hearts, and our hearts are naturally want to be open and sensitive. I mean, a baby, a child is super sensitive, super impacted by everything in their environment, and that's hard to function sometimes like that. But if we are just in our armored, defended self, then we miss out a lot on the beauty and tenderness and the heartfulness and also the joy of life. So living with a closed heart may minimize some of the pain, but it's tragic, not nonetheless. So let's take a moment again and feel into our hearts now. How open or closed does it feel? Transparent or opaque? Hard and tight or tender or soft? And just notice without trying to change it. And as I mentioned earlier, self-compassion is normalizing rather than judging our difficulties. So most likely we can think of at least one other, or perhaps many people who are suffering similarly. So like I've mentioned, I'm sure you know people that have had uh, tweaked their neck. I mean, just a silly example, but I suspect that whatever issue you're dealing with that you thought about in your current difficulty, you could think of at least one other, if not many more people that in our humanity, among the 8 billion people on this planet, are dealing with that. How many people do you imagine are or have been dealing with it in their lifetime? Unless you have something you're really unique and super special, I imagine there's millions, if not billions, throughout human history that have had to deal with this. Not to minimize what you or I or anybody is dealing with, it's just to say this is normal, and this is like shifting us from you know a victim mindset to something different. As someone typed in the chat, I really like shifting from victim to witness. Would represent a spatial change, but I live in the same place in my presence. It's like alchemizing to stay towards presence. Okay, that's beautiful. So, um, thank you. Thank you, Victor, for that wisdom here on the chat. Right on. So with this idea in mind of shifting from victim to witness to normalizing, I'd like to introduce another compassion practice that comes from Buddhism. It's called TongLen, which literally means giving and receiving. And in this practice, which I'll describe and we'll do together, you imagine yourself along with others, or at least one other that's suffering this kind of difficulty. So if I'm thinking about the pain in my neck, I close my eyes and I visualize myself and anybody else, or some other person that might be right now or in the past that I've known that is dealing with this kind of pain in their body, in their neck, and their shoulder, and their back, and lower back, whatever it might be, that have tweaked a muscle or some kind of aggravated a nerve ending. And so I imagine myself and this one other person or many other people in front of me. And so we're visualizing those who are suffering. In this case, it's ourselves and others in front. And then breathing in, we kind of say this to ourselves. Breathing in, I witness, acknowledge, and receive our difficulty and pain. And then as I do that, I visualize inhaling that pain like gray smoke through the front of the chest. And then there's a slight pause. And then breathing out, I send back kindness, compassion, and love. And again, in the exhale, visualize sending out golden, green, or blue light that's emanating from the center of the chest towards those, in this case, you and them in front of you that are suffering. And sometimes it can help to imagine a resource. It could be the Buddha or Kuan Yin or Jesus or whoever it is, or a grandparent that was very compassionate, that embodies compassion for you, and visualize them in in the center of your chest. Or as Pauline suggested to me, she does is having two allies to her side. So you can resource yourself more. Um, so let's just take a moment and do this. So whatever the difficulty you were thinking about earlier, think of one other person or more that might be suffering the same similar thing. Have them, you and them in front of you, and you can close your eyes, and then you synchronize your breath with these phrases. Breathing in, I witness, acknowledge, and receive our difficulty and pain. Slight pause. Breathing out, I send back kindness, compassion, and love. And repeat this like 3 or 4 times or more. Just take a minute. So again, notice what you're experiencing now. How is your body feeling? And you can take some notes, or you can, if you're willing, we'd love to hear you share what you're noticing now as you're doing this practice of giving and receiving, or TongLen.
I think it, I think it's easier to do with another person.
Okay, great. Well, we will have a chance to do soon with another person.
No, I mean imagining another person there. That
What was
just
that?
the fact of imagining another person that I care about being there
Uh-huh.
too made it easier to do the exercise.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So again, normalizing. So just so I understand what you're saying, you're imagining another person without you there, or just
I thought you
with
said to imagine myself with another person standing.
right, 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 right.
That was a more successful exercise for me than just putting my hands on my chest and thinking about me.
I see. Okay, I got you. So this the very fact that there was someone else there with you made it easier to do.
And it might be easier at this point in my journey to
Yeah.
feel compassionate towards someone else other than just myself.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. So what's it like as you say that now?
There's a lot of noise in the background. What's it like?
Yeah.
Think I think thinking of another person in the same situation who I care about, uh, it's easier to give her that energy than just myself, and also makes it easier to normalize.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. So you're learning how your heart, how your psyche, how your soul works, and yeah, and I see that other people can relate to that as well. And so, having done that with another person, what happened to you? What did you notice?
I could I could really visualize sending out sparkly gold love.
Uh-huh. Okay, and having done that, what happened to your breathing, your chest, how you
Felt-
feel?
I felt calmer.
Calmer. Okay. All right. So let's not skip that. I mean, it's great you could visualize it, but it resourced you. You felt better. And so I'm just trying to underline that, if that makes sense. Yeah. So this kind of leads us to the next thing, which is sometimes the suffering is not, doesn't have much to do with us directly. I mean, we have a friend, they have some medical situation they're telling us about, they having financial difficulty, they're lost a relationship, lost a job, whatever it might be. Um, and we're just being with them, and it's their suffering. Maybe we can find something in us in our history that resembles what they're talking about, but that's not the point. We're being there with them. And we want to be able to offer them our compassion, our support, our presence. And we want to be able to do that without losing ourselves in it or getting too dysregulated ourselves if they start crying or getting really upset. If we're sensitive, if we're an empath, it can really also dysregulate us, which doesn't necessarily help them. So this TongLen practice and this method can help us be present and energetically support someone through their difficulty. And sometimes I use this just in reading the news that's overwhelming. And I'm like, oh my God, you see these horrible images, whatever it is, whether it's a war image or it's a natural disaster. And I'm like, oh, there's so many people that were affected. And I can't really do much of physically to help them, but I just inhale in their difficulty and exhale out kindness and love across the globe. And it just helps me keep my heart open and not get overwhelmed in just reading the news, or turn away from reading the news, which doesn't really help. I mean, I still want to expose myself only so much, but the point is that this helps me deal with receiving that kind of difficulty. So let's do that now in group. You can think of a difficulty of someone or someone's that you know personally or not personally, um, and just visualize them or the situation in front of you. And like before, you're suffering those who are suffering and somebody else, other people in front of you, and breathing in, I witness, acknowledge, and receive your difficulty and pain. You visualize inhaling gray smoke through the front of the chest, and then breathing out, I send back kindness, compassion, and love. And it could be that sparkly golden light, or whatever feels like kindness and love and compassion for you, emanating from the center of the chest towards those who are in front. So go ahead and do that. So again, I'm curious to hear how that affects you, if it's easier, harder, and you can type that in the chat. Or if there are questions about what we're doing, we're going to soon move into a demo and breakout where you'll get to practice this with another person. But before we do, I'm curious to hear if there are any questions about these practices, and anybody want to share your experience. If you're speaking, please unmute.
Yeah, it's Victor here. Thanks for the webinar and your time. And it's really interesting. And maybe it has no relationship, but you are using a lot of Buddhist, techniques and approaches.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Due to your origin, um, do you have something similar with Kabbalah?
Yeah, there's similar practices in Kabbalah. Yeah. So you take in other people's suffering. That tenderizes the heart. I used to do that.
Mhm.
Just taking more and more suffering. It's kind
Mhm.
of crazy thing, but at the end, I feel like very open-hearted, very tender, very soft. But
Mhm.
I like explaining it through the Buddhist TongLen with visualizing in and out, the breathing in and out. The way I've studied it through Kabbalah, yeah, I just took it in and made my heart larger and larger to hold it whole. But at some point, then you become the vastness. So,
Mhm. Okay, okay. Just curious if, yeah, it can be some approaches using Kabbalah concepts,
yeah,
especially due to your origins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I do draw on my Jewish and
Mhm.
Kabbalist practices. I try and draw on other traditions as well.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody else care to share? How was this? How was it now where you just focused on someone else without even yourself in the picture?
In both cases, for me, I ended up wanting to find something to do and not
Uh-huh.
knowing what to do.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So there's that motivation to help. So as I was trying to underline earlier, it's the motivation. So can you conjure up that situation and feel into the impulse to do something?
Uh, yeah, the specific situation I was thinking about was my son and daughter-in-law who are going through a divorce, and they have a 4-year-old son, and that compassion extended to him as well, and
Mm-hmm.
what he will go through or is going through. And it's
Okay. And you want to help him.
all of, yeah, help all
All,
of them
all
somehow.
of them. Okay. And you're not sure how and
Yeah.
okay. And I hear the tenderness in your voice just as you talk about it. So obviously, this is something that's affecting you. Is that fair? Can you sense your tenderness in your voice as you speak about it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but but frustration as well that
Yeah. Okay, but as you mentioned, you feel the impulse motivation to help, and you're not sure how.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see if you could stay with that motivation and that impulse. Just feel that energy of the desire to help them. And I know next thing comes up is the frustration because there's a powerlessness or I'm not sure about how to help. But before the frustration there or underneath it, there's the desire to help.
Hmm.
Okay, what what's it like? Where is it arising from in your being? Where do you feel this desire arising from? Well, how does it express itself in your body? Is there any activation in your hands or your legs, or is it what is your body trying to do?
Um, I think it's pretty all over. It's and I guess that's related to the not knowing what to do or the helplessness sense of it.
Uh-huh. And so you feel the desire everywhere in your body. Is it more concentrated, or can you trace it back to the source?
Probably pretty much in the core.
In your core? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so go into that spot, that core. Trace it to the core, the source, where this desire to help is arising from. And if you bring in your inner fingers, your inner touch, your inner ears, and listen, look, feel, touch into that inner core, what 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 is that like there? The place from this desire is arising.
It's feels like it's moving to my head.
Uh-huh. So there's a flow and energy and upwelling or something, rising.
It's shifting most, and tightness around my neck and uh, in the back of my head.
Uh-huh. And what's happening in the core now?
It's more blank now, and it's more concentrated up there.
So the core is blank, like space, you mean?
Hmm.
Okay, so see if you could stay with that space, what you're calling blank. What what happens with the blank space? How does it affect you when you touch into it?
Um, Mostly that it releases a little bit of the neck and head.
Uh-huh. Okay, so allow them both. Allow the tension in the head and the neck and the blank space in the core. And let your feet and your legs support you in being as you are with the blank core and the tension in the neck and head. So allow all of that. What happens when you allow it all and open up to include the blank space and the tightness?
Feels like there's a release of energy that flows around.
Uh-huh. Release of energy. Okay.
Mm.
So it's interesting. Something in your core wants to help other people, these people that you care about, that you love. That I shouldn't say other people. This is your loved ones in your family. So what's it like when you realize that something in my core wants to help? Something in the core of my being wants to alleviate their difficulty.
Um, Not so much frustration as just a sense of maybe what you call being with it.
Uh-huh. Okay. But I gather that it's coming out of a place of care.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you feel the care?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the care like? If
Um, Sad, but maybe a little bit more hopeful.
uh-huh. Yeah, so the situation is objectively sad. They're going through a divorce. Their 4-year-old is impacted and there's a loss. So sadness seems appropriate, but you care. And the care to me, and I mean, if we stayed with it, I think you'd probably trace it back to love. You love these people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just, so this is just kind of a flavor of, uh, the motivation to help comes out of care, which comes out of kindness or love.
Yeah. The other thing is that while it still feels frustrating not to be able to help, it's a more of a sense of being with it than a sense of trying to escape.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So let's actually practice some of this together in breakout. So Pauline, thank-
Yosi, are you ready for the demo before we head into the breakouts?
yeah, yeah. Let's see
Okay.
if we can do this quickly. We're running a little behind, but thank you for the brave souls that are sticking with us here to do this.
Yeah. So this dyad practice, you will be with a partner, and when you first get to the breakout room, you'll each have a minute to say hello and introduce yourselves. And you don't have to worry about keeping track of time. Yosi's voice will come through the speaker, so you'll hear him say when it's time to switch. So we can pretend we did that already, Yosi.
Yeah.
And then choose who wants to go first, and this person will describe a difficult situation that you're encountering in your life. So I'm happy to share since you already shared about your neck today, Yosi.
Okay, thank you.
So my difficult situation is some insomnia and anxiety that's causing that insomnia. And I could go into more details, but for the sake of time, I'll pretend I was talking for 2 minutes about what's causing that, what I'm feeling about that,
Hmm.
and then silently noticing. So I'm going to be noticing what happens in my body as I describe and contemplate this difficulty. And we're actually going to have a minute of silence to just be with this chance to notice, right, Yossi?
Yeah, to be with ourselves, having named this difficulty, talked about it for 2 minutes, just noticing what's happening with us now, how this affected us, our body, our physiology, our breathing, all the key markers we tend to look at.
So I would be sitting with you for a minute in silence, just feeling myself.
Yeah.
And then I will have another minute to actually describe these physical, emotional, or energetic sensations in my body. So I could say I feel a sense of heaviness, there is some sadness and also frustration, etc. And then we're going to switch to another silent practice where the listener, so in this case, Yosi, is actually going to be doing that TongLen practice. And you're going to be doing that with the pain that I'm describing, with the difficulty that I'm feeling. But this is yet in silence.
Yeah, so I'm now going to take a minute and just reflecting on Pauline's insomnia and anxiety, I'm saying to myself, and I'm breathing in, I acknowledge and receive your difficulty. Breathing out, I send out kindness, compassion, and love. So let me do that for a minute, or at least half a minute in silence.
And the instruction for the receiver during this time, the silent minute, is for me to notice what it's like to be in the presence of the listener, Yosi, doing this TongLen practice. So just I'm noticing as he's doing the TongLen. And then it switches over to me doing the self-compassion practice that we did together earlier. And Yosi, is this out loud?
Yeah, that would be the
Okay,
invitation, but not
great.
not mandatory. That would be the suggestion.
Okay, so I'll just talk through it briefly. So, Pauline, this is a difficult situation for you, feeling anxiety and experiencing insomnia. Oh, yeah, I can put my hands on my heart, like we talked about. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, many people are going through similar things. I'm here with you, and we'll go through this together.
So
And
you do that, yeah, 3, 4 times in the 2 minutes.
yeah. And then, final step for my share time is to describe how I'm feeling now after having received the Tonglen and done the self-compassion practice. Do I feel any different than after I had just been describing the difficulty? Yes, I actually feel a little bit more resourced. I feel like I received some energy. It was beautiful to experience that TongLen. Just knowing that you were doing the TongLen actually did impact me. I felt some lightness. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, knowing that someone else that we're connected to cares about us, sending us, as we say, good energy, prayers, heartfulness. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll see what that's like for you to do and receive.
And then we do the same thing with reversed roles. So just back to the previous slide, Yossi will talk us through, now second person describe the difficult situation, and we'll go through everything again. And finally, there will be a 3-minute debrief with your partner where you can talk, thanking each other for holding space and for sharing that positive energy, and also discussing how was this experience for you and did you learn anything? So anything you want to add, Yossi, before I open it up to questions?
No, I think that's great.
Okay, do we have any questions? Feel free to put in the chat. I see one chat. No worries. Thanks for being here, Victor. Hope to see you again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Bye. Gonna go ahead and pause the recording so we can talk about logistics. And we'll see anyone who's watching the replay after the breakouts.
Yeah.
So just to mention, if you're watching the recording, you're welcome to do this as a journaling practice, or you can find a friend or loved one and practice this with them.
You could do it in front of your voice memo. And if you don't want to type, you could just record yourself.
Yeah, you could do that. And you could also do this as a practice with a mirror if you want to actually see yourself. It can be really powerful too. Great.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back from the breakouts, everyone.
Yes, nice to see those tender, soft faces here. So, anybody care to share and Love to hear your experience. What worked, what didn't work, what was difficult, what was it like?
I can share.
Please,
Um,
thanks.
well, because I am a health professional, I'm accustomed to listening to people talk about things that are bothering them and then giving them suggestions. And I currently have four elderly relatives that I have daily contact with at least one of them. And I'm always giving suggestions, and then they don't do what I suggest, and then I get frustrated. So we have the same conversations. So I think that I'm going to try the TongLen with them instead of giving suggestions. And I know it'll be better for me. It may be better for them too.
Yeah. So what was it like when you did the TongLen, just energetically receiving their difficulty and giving back, you know, good energy, light, compassion, kindness?
Um, at first, it seemed easy. I was with Pauline, and it's very easy to feel compassionate with her, and she's very articulate and open. But then, as time went on, I'm like, oh, I want to tell her maybe she should try this or that.
Uh-huh. So you notice your impulse to give advice. Uh-huh.
My role is coming out, and then I'm like, no, I need to just stay present for her. And then it was kind of a relief to do that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're speaking to what I talked about earlier, which is discerning. Okay, in some cases, you could say, "Oh, I have some suggestions for you. Would that be helpful? Are you
Oh,
interested?" I think one of the things we may have all encountered, I know I do. Sometimes I have friends and I tell them about a difficulty and they start giving me some advice that's actually misattuned. And I'm like, no, I don't need this kind of advice. But if they say, oh, I have some suggestions for you, uh, do you want it or not? Well, maybe. So yeah, so that requires discernment. And as we had earlier before the break, it's like sometimes we don't know what we could do, and it's just like, can we stay with the impulse, the desire to help? Because the desire to help is coming out of care and love. And if we stay with that, then it's more tolerable for us. And as opposed to we get frustrated and then after a while we want to turn away from people. It's like, okay, I've heard about your problem so many times. I'm sick and tired of listening to you complain. I mean, does that ever happen to you? Or
yeah,
just me?
especially because now there are four of them.
Okay, yeah. So we get overwhelmed with other people's suffering. So what we're trying to do is how we could take it in, not ignore them, but resource ourselves and then turn it around to something that actually feels good to us and them.
Mhm.
And what about on the other side when Pauline on the other side was doing the TongLen towards you? Did you feel anything? Did
Yes, I did become more relaxed. I was able to breathe, and her face, I mean, I could just feel the compassion in her expression.
uh-huh. So she wasn't saying anything. She was just doing this energetic, taking your pain, sending out kindness and compassion, and it help regulate you. It felt good to be with someone receiving your pain and turn it around into kindness without them doing anything. That was helpful, is what I'm hearing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
That was okay. That I
uh,
agree. I agree with your assessment. Yes.
okay. Okay. Anybody else want to share? I'm noticing Pauline's sweet face now.
So a couple of things happened for me that I think are interesting. You know, the sense of of what I had with Elena, of wanting to be with me. I don't know how that transmitted, but it was there, that sense that there was caring and there was a desire to be with me, and and that somehow opened a different kind of energy. So the first thing I felt when we started the process was I was kind of slouched over. I was kind of like this.
Hmm.
And within 30 seconds, I was like this. And even just now, when I straightened up, I can feel tingling in my back, like opening and like something good, um, real good. And
And all
then,
of that just became through her presence and receiving you.
yeah. So that just happened. There was not effort there. It was in fact kind of the opposite of effort. It was it was something opening up.
Hmm.
And then as it went along and and since, part of what you guys just were talking about of, the tendency to want to give advice or help in my situation with my daughter-in-law, my son, and even to some extent with my grandson, it's more trying, not trying to help, just trying to understand what they're going through is maybe much more helpful than anything I could say or advise. Um, and that, she's in Rome, I'm in California, and we're feeling this energy flow back and forth. And that's a pretty
Okay.
amazing phenomenon. So,
Yeah, so I was curious if you knew that she's over the big pond and you could still feel the support.
yeah, very much.
Mhm. Yeah.
And what you guys were just saying of the desire to be with and maybe the desire to understand or to be able to share that feeling is uh,
Mhm.
something pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
And the desire to help is there, and you could feel that, but then they feel just your care, that desire to help, even if it's not expressed through some kind of physical action.
or cluttered with advice or
Yeah.
do this or do that. So that's very different. Um, I'll tell you some other time about an experience I had with a common colleague, Paul Levy.
Uh-huh.
A-
Oh,
a
I know that character. Uh-huh.
lot- Yeah, well, just real quickly, what happened once was that he would give me advice when he came back from a visit to customers, and what I thought was his advice was terrible, and we'd argue about it. And one time, finally, I got so frustrated, I said, "What was happening when this issue came up, and you wanted to do something about it?" And once I understood what the situation was, I realized his advice was not good, but his insight into there being a problem that needed attention was superb. And from then on, when I wanted to understand what he saw, not what he wanted me to do, it changed the whole relationship. So there's something deep in that desire to understand and care and respecting that there's something there that is worthy of understanding.
Yeah, it opens things up on both sides.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about it in terms until this exercise of how that change opened up everything in a very different way. And um,
Yeah, that's great to see. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, I see a big smile there.
Okay, how was for me? I like the silent practice, and I felt very grateful for this practice. Thank you.
Yeah, say more. What did you like about the silent practice?
First, it was how I felt about during this practice,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized I had this pain in my head, and I felt this pain in my chest, and I released it, and I felt very good. How shall I say? I felt peaceful after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did you realize, or how was it to hear that, when you were just your presence helped John here?
How did I feel it?
Yeah, did you sense that? Could you, and vice versa, did you feel when he was doing his TongLen, how did that affect you?
I was surprised that at the end of the practice, I felt so much joy. It was I was able to reconnect with myself. It was a very good feeling for me. Um, please excuse me, I don't know why, but words are coming in Italian language,
Uh-huh.
and the, there must be an explanation for it. I don't know which is the right one in this moment. So I still feel that joy, and like I'm celebrating myself. And thank you all for this good feeling that I'm having now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm delighted to hear you experiencing joy.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't experienced for such a long time, and I just
Yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah. And what are you noticing now, looking at the gallery view, maybe? How is your joy being received and reflected back?
I don't know. I'm still inside celebrating. Please excuse
Okay.
me.
Uh-huh. And
After
how
a
is
long
it?
time. I'm doing
How,
it after a long time.
okay. How is it celebrating with us here?
Oh, it's because I'm here. This is that I'm so grateful.
Okay. Well, I'm delighted you're here.
Hmm. Me too.
Hmm. So what do you guys notice? Like if you look around now at each other and the energy of the space now compared to the beginning 2 hours ago.
It's pretty cool. We get both compassion and gratitude all in one shot.
Yeah, I heard some joy too. But how does the energy of the space feel?
I think it feels complete.
Complete. Uh-huh. Okay. Any other words? I'm noticing a lot of softness and settledness. Does it feel kind of like soft and dropped in and settled, not rushed, not agitated? Anything else? Anybody else noticing about just the space itself, the space in between us, the field that's created here?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy bouncing around in there.
Energy, huh? So it's kind of alive, even though it's calm and soft, it's alive.
Yeah.
Feel more grounded in myself, and therefore I feel like I can be more present with everyone here because of that.
Hmm. So you're more grounded, more resourced within yourself, but that enables you to also then be present with the others.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's kind of opening up.
opening up. How wide is the opening?
A lot wider than it was when we started.
Okay. There's a little laughter, which is good.
Mhm.
Laughter is good medicine, especially when we're dealing with all we're dealing with.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all for hanging in here with us and participating and contributing and bringing your heart and your care and your pain. And yeah, I mean, normally we want to hide away with our pain, but it's interesting how our pain can be received and turned around. And then, you know, giving someone who's in pain the gift of our compassion actually feels good to do. And so both sides benefit. Normally we feel like we want to hide and we don't want to burden other people with our pain. But if we're skillful and they're skillful, then there's more intimacy, more support, more connection, and it feels good on both sides. So instead of isolation, loneliness, shame around our pain, there's more connection. Okay, so unless there are any other comments, we will just announce our next event, which was also in the email. That was a reminder about this one, but
Yes, so our next event will be on April 17th, 2026, and the theme is centeredness, finding our way back home.
so I hope you'll find your way back here to be with us. Not that this is your exclusive home, but it's one home I hope that we can share. And until then, wish you all the best. Wish us all the best. Praying for you, for me, for all of us. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you
you,
very much.
Yosi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.